Should you shoot in 24 or 30 frames per second? And maybe more importantly, does 24 really look more cinematic than 30 or 60 for that matter? Well, I've done the test and I've also done some research and some investigations, and I've actually discovered some interesting things. So I'll give you a definitive answer because, and my longtime subscribers all know this, I'm always right, everyone else is always wrong, and my opinion is the only valid opinion here on YouTube. So you came to the right video. I can't say it with a straight face. No, of course not. Do let me know in the comments what you think, because I really want to know your opinion too. I find it super interesting and I read all the comments, I really do. Okay, anyway, first a quick recap maybe, so that you know why I'm making this video. So I've been shooting in 30 instead of 24 frames per second for a month now as an experiment to find out if maybe I like 30 more than 24 for my YouTube videos. And I also wanted to know if it really matters which frame rate you use. And then the main reason why I decided to go for 30 for a while is because 24 on most devices, it sometimes stutters or judders or jitters, whatever you want to call it. And that's because most people don't actually see true 24 frames per second, like in a movie theater. It's all very complicated and technical, but simply put, 24 doesn't work well with 60, mathematically. 60 works better with 30. Now, if everybody would watch on a 120 Hz screen, that would solve the problem, because you can evenly divide 120 by 24, but I guess we're not there yet, because interesting fact number one, I did a poll on my channel here, and turns out that 63% of my audience watches content on a 60 Hz screen. And so that's why a lot of creators say that 30 frames per second looks a lot smoother for YouTube videos. Notice how I said smoother and not better or nicer or more beautiful? Smoother. You'll see later why. But I agree, it's true. Drone videos, for example, look a lot smoother when shot in 30 or 60 frames per second. But even if you would watch 24 frames per second content as true 24 frames per second and 30 as true 30, 30 will always look smoother because you have those 6 extra frames. So 30, no matter what, will always look smoother. And then 60, of course, looks super smooth, like butter. But for me, unless it's slowed down, 60, that's too much. I don't like the look, but it doesn't matter. If you like it, then you like it. That's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Wait, no, I'm always right, everyone else is always wrong. My opinion, you are wrong if you like 60 frames per second. Shame on you. No, not true. If you like 60, that's fine. De gustibus non disputandum est, right? How is that in English? There's no disputing about taste, something like that. And that's true, of course. Too bad actually that I can't show you 24 and 30 side by side in this video, because a video has 1 frame rate and this is 24. But maybe go back to some of my previous videos and then check the stats for nerds so that you can see what frame rate it actually is. That's a tip, you can check that for every video here on YouTube. But anyway, so the thing is, if you want smooth, if you want extra smooth, then 30 or 60 it is. You're gonna need those extra frames to make your footage look extra smooth. But remember that what you see is not what everyone else sees, because interesting fact number 2, I did another poll here on my channel asking who noticed the difference when I started shooting in 30 instead of 24. And turns out that most people, 64%, didn't even see the difference. And by the way, a lot of people also didn't see the judders or the stutters that come with 24 frames per second. So, you know, I think it's fair to conclude that 24 is not better than 30 or vice versa. They're just different. Same for 24 versus 60. And unless you're being asked to shoot in a specific frame rate, it doesn't matter. Use whatever you like best. Okay, but then, the important question, the big one. Does 24 really look more cinematic than 30, or 60 for that matter? Well, look, A few weeks ago, I was testing a new anamorphic lens, and I had just decided to shoot in 30 frames per second for a while, so my camera was set to 30 frames per second. And when I watched the first test shots, 30 FPS, it just didn't look right. It didn't feel right. Something felt off. And you know, for talking head videos like this, 24, 30, both looks fine to me. But for those test shots with that anamorphic lens, I feel like shooting in 30 made those shots lose their cinematicness. Yeah, I know it sounds stupid, but that's what I saw. That's what I felt. And then I switched back to 24. Problem solved. It looked a lot better. It looked more cinematic. I really thought it wouldn't matter that much, 24 or 30, but it really does, apparently. And again, it's too bad that I can't show you 24 and 30 side by side, but I would recommend you to do the test yourself. Shoot in 24, shoot in 30, put them side by side and see if you can see the difference. And the surprising thing is that even on a 60 Hz screen with all the jitters, stutters, whatever, the reason why I started shooting in 30 in the first place, I still like 24 better with all the jutters if cinematic is what I'm going for. I have to do cinematic like this because what does that word mean, right? And you know, I can hear some of you mumbling now, oh, but we've been conditioned to like 24 frames per second as the cinematic frame rate because they've been using it since forever. So we've gotten used to it and that's why we think it looks cinematic. Maybe, yeah. But is that the reason? Same could be said for high frame rates, right? Gamers are being conditioned to like high frame rates because in the gaming world, the higher the better. Same for people who own a TV that does frame interpolation. So the TV adds frames to make it look smoother. And most people don't even know that that setting is on. So those people are also being conditioned to like higher frame rates. You know what I mean, right? I absolutely hate it, but you know, if you like it, hey, that's fine. And then there's also the argument that shooting in higher frame rates is more expensive, storage-wise, and more difficult to do CGI. But I mean, not all movies have CGI, and about the storage thing, I mean, we went from 1080 to 2K, 4K, 8K, no problem. But frame rate? Frame rate stayed at 24 in the movie industry. And 8K needs a lot more storage than 2K. So I think that 24 frames per second does have a certain quality, a cinematic quality to it. Again, it sounds stupid, that word cinematic, because it doesn't mean anything. But for me, 24 has a certain look. The movement, the motion blur, and some people say, oh, but it has too much motion blur, it doesn't look good. And some people even say it doesn't look natural, but have you waved your hand in front of your eyes? What I'm seeing here now, motion blur. So, you know, 24 looks natural. And you know what's funny? Some people think that 24 frames per second looks natural and movies shot in higher frame rates look artificial. But then other people think the exact opposite. So some people like high frame rates because it looks different, and other people hate high frame rates because it looks different. And that's the key here. I mean, so the only thing I can conclude here is that for me, 24 frames per second is still the cinematic frame rate. For me, in my opinion. But I'm not gonna convince you. I don't want to convince you because honestly, I'm getting tired of that, you know, 24 frames per second is superior kind of vibe, and some people are a bit too obsessed with it. I'm just gonna keep using both 24 and 30 frames per second. It just depends on what I'm going for. You know, let artists be artists, let filmmakers be filmmakers. Frame rate is a tool, and you have to use the tool that best expresses your vision. Is it 24? Then 24 it is. Do you like 60, or do you want to experiment? Because that's also what people do. That's why some directors, they experiment and they try that higher frame rate. You know, just embrace the fact that I'm starting to sound like a hippie again. So I think it's time that I just end the video here. I think I've made my point clear. I hope so. You see that? The stupid camera was focusing on my hand here because it thought my hand was a face. Sony, you're letting me down. Anyway, look, the thing is, maybe in 20 years, 10 years, I'm gonna look back at this video and yeah, I'll be embarrassed because we're all watching movies in 200 frames per second and we all love it. Maybe. I don't know. It could happen. For now, no. For now, I'm always right. Everyone else is always wrong. My opinion is the only valid opinion here on YouTube. 24 is the cinematic frame rate. Salut en tot de volgende.